Hello.
Okay, you can hear me. Good.
I can hear you. I can
I
hear you.
can hear you loud and clear.
Yes. Yes, I can. Yeah, that was amazing. Um I we will make a new break out of that and
That sounds
yeah.
great. There you go. Ah.
Uh waiting for the live stream announcement to go up. Let's see
Uh,
here.
yeah.
Blah
Here.
blah 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 blah.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, any second now. You can do it. Oh. Why is it not coming yet? It's been 1 minute. It usually does it after like 30 seconds or so. If it doesn't do it in one more minute, I'll figure out how to do it manually again. Oh no, why did I do that? Oh, crap. Okay, hold on. Okay, that recovered. I didn't screw that up. Okay, let me do it manually. Give me a second. Copy, post, new post, and change the copy link. Wait, oh, that's okay. Duh. Hold on. Do that. There we go. Copy link. That's the one I want. Oh, just as I was ready to hit send on the manual one, it finally does it automatically. Okay. Back to here. Close this. Save draft. Boom. Okay. And then I have to put this back. Okay. Media live. Go. Shall we go? Go.
Yeah.
Go. Go. Here we go.
Here we go.
Welcome to Curmudgeon's Corner for Saturday, August 16th, 2025. It's just after 17 UTC as we're starting to record. I am Sam. Yvonne Bowe is here. Or I'm Sam Minter. Yvonne Bowe is here. Hello, Yvonne. I forgot my last name. I usually say my last name. You know, I am just Sam, but
Sam.
I usually fully identify myself.
Samuel Antonio.
That's right. Samuel Antonio Minter. I should add more names. You know,
I have a niece who
I could do the four-name style, and Minter Brandon.
Well, okay, I have a niece who, for some reason, I'm not really sure why did this. Her full name, is Cristina Barbara del Carmen Cusa Bowe.
Nice.
Okay. I don't know how the hell, I gotta show me her. I think in her passport, it's like shortened to like Christina Barbara. I don't think they've got enough room for all of that. But I think her birth certificate is Cristina Barbara del Carmen.
Okay.
That's her just her first and middle name. So thankfully our my brother-in-law's and our last names are short. It's like 4 letters for his, only 3 for ours. So at least.
So I looked up. There's a list of the longest full names.
Okay.
Now, number 10 is Salvador Dali, whose full name is Salvador Felipe Jacinto Dali y Dominic, which is 34 characters. And that's not all that long.
Shit, I think that my niece is close. I mean, when you take Cristina Barbara del Carmen Cusa Bowe, I gotta count.
I mean, presumably these are the 10 longest famous
people. Yeah, famous people.
Then we got ones that are clearly sort of made up. Like number 9 is Nicholas, unless Jesus Christ had died for thee, thou hast been damned, Barbon.
Oh, come on. The hell.
From 1640, 74 characters. Then we have Tarkeen Fin Tim Lin Bin Win Bim Lim Bus Stop Fatang Ole Biscuit Barrel.
And who is this?
Born in 1959, 76 characters. Was originally named John Desmond Lewis, but decided to change his name into a standing reference to one of his favorite Monty Python
characters. What? That doesn't count. Because that's not the name. I'm going with names that the parents gave. Because if you change it later for a gimmick, as many people have, that's BS.
Yes, that doesn't count. Yes, and then we have Pablo Picasso, Pablo Diego Jose Francisco de Paula Juan Nepomuncio Maria de los Remedios Cipranio de la Santísima Trinidad Ruiz y Picasso. You got a Ruiz.
Yeah, this is more, it's like almost in the same vein as what happened with my niece. I don't understand why, and it's, I don't think it's a coincidence that both of those, because Dali and Picasso are both from Spain, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I don't think that it's a coincidence that, us of being of Spanish descent as well, also, decided on this ridiculously long names. So I think you see a theme here. Okay, with
then we have another gimmick one. I won't do all 10 of these.
Yeah.
But this is Anna, Bertha, Cecilia, Diana, Emily, Fanny, Gertrude, Hypatia, Inez, Jane, Kate, Louise, Maud, Nora, Ophelia, Prudence, Quince, Rebecca, Sarah, Teresa, Ulysses, Venus, Winifred, Xenophon, Yeti, Zeno, Pepper.
Oh, come on, man. What the fuck? Any other non-gimmick ones in there, did you see?
Let's see. Yeah, this one changed his name. This one... changed his name. This one clearly changed his name. All his middle names are the first and last name are James Bond.
Okay.
The middle names are the names of all the movies.
Oh my God. What a fuck. Come on. Jesus.
Number 2, clearly made up as well. Number, I can't even, the number 1 is not a lot of short names, but has their last name by itself is like several hundred characters of German sounding stuff.
Okay.
But yes.
But the only 2 that were not some kind of gimmick, made up,
yes,
happen to coincide, like with my niece, that they are either from Spain or of Spanish descent.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell our problem is. I mean, I remember my sister told, they told me that was the name that we were giving her at the baptism. I'm like, what? Wait, how long is his name? What the hell? So
yes. So anyway, we're gonna do our but first non-newsy stuff. Yvonne will have something. I will do a couple movies, and then we will do news stuff for the rest of the show after that. That's the plan. That's always the plan these days, unless there's something huge that's blowing up that, we drop everything to deal with that.
There's this Key and Peele skit where Key and Peele, the comedians.
I don't know them.
Oh, come on. You've seen some of these. You remember the guy that did at the whatchamacallit, at the Obama, when he did one of the oh God, the things
guy?
Exactly, that guy. You see, there you go.
I remember him, but I don't know Key and Peele. I just looked them up
but
on
that's
Wikipedia.
okay. All right, so that's they.
I do recognize. They have a picture of Key performing as Luther, the President Obama's anger translator.
Yeah, exactly.
That skit.
Okay, so you remember that. So his partner. One time they did this short clip where the guy was at an office and he was getting coffee. Okay, and you could see that he was sitting like by a window. And he goes and he's looking through the sweeteners, and he takes the the diet one, the non-sugar one, okay, and he's picking which one. He's measuring. He's going to go and he's going to pop it open and put it in. He's looking at those, right? He's going to put it in, and all of a sudden, outside the window, as people are looking, a nuclear explosion happens in the distance. Okay, all right.
Okay.
And you can see that a lot of people in the room start panicking, obviously, as I think that if I were sitting here and I looked up north and I saw a nuke, go off, I'm not sure what my reaction would be. But if I'm in a room with a lot of people, I expect a lot of screaming, okay, and gasping, okay? I think that would be the reaction that would happen. Don't you think?
I would expect swearing from you.
Yes. I think that you're right. I think that my first words would be, motherfucking, what the? Yeah, I think that would start from there. Yes, I think that's a good point. But this guy, opening his coffee, nuke goes off. People around him panicking. He's looking at his coffee. He's making his coffee. He drops the artificial sweetener, grabs the regular sugar, and just starts pouring it into his coffee.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at that point, it's like, what the fuck, man? What am I doing? Okay. So I don't think that we are in that kind of situation right now where you're like, I don't expect that you're going to look out your window and over the next 90 minutes, 2 hours, we're going to see some kind of event of that level right now.
I mean, there is a naval base a few miles from me that is a target.
Yeah, but you know what? Here's a reality right now, because we're doing this podcast and we're attuned to the news.
Yes.
If there was a nuclear launch warning, right, we would would be here, and all of a sudden, blue sky, the news alerts, all of a sudden, they would be like going off like crazy that we have had a nuclear launch detection.
Mm.
I wouldn't think that that would be the first thing, right? Because there's no way that they would keep it like a secret over there. Because, if there's a nuclear launch detection, do you think that it wouldn't leak and be... I mean, people... I mean, it would... They can't keep that...
If you remember, we've had the opposite problem with, like, Hawaii sending out the alerts of an incoming missile when there wasn't.
Right. Correct. We've had that. We've had that.
And, but you never know. Like, what it could have been like a smuggled in terrorist thing instead of like
that's true.
A missile.
That very true. Very true. Okay, could be.
Could just
be and I am relatively near
making a bomb.
There is a thing. I am relatively near Mar-a-Lago. Okay?
There you go.
Which, if some psychopathic terrorist decides that they want to nuke Mar-a-Lago, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to see the mushroom cloud.
There you go. So
please,
keep an eye
look,
out your window
that is not the solution. To anybody that listens to this, for the love of God, that is not the solution. That is not the solution. Okay?
I'm sure our listener base had already started building their bomb when you said that.
Jesus. Yeah, no. Don't try to get nuclear material. No. That's not the solution to the problem.
Okay. So, you got a non-newsy thing you want to start talking about before I do movies?
I'm going to talk a little bit about, because I didn't talk about this a couple of weeks ago, about me trying to fast charge our new BMW. Okay?
Oh,
all right.
Okay.
Because I don't even know if I mentioned this on the show that we decided to. I can't remember. I don't know. It's so busy.
This is the one you got for your wife, right?
Correct. Yes. My wife had decided that. Well, look, we tax bill passed. We had been discussing getting it, replacing her Honda CR-V hybrid. That the lease is up in less than 6 months, around there. We had been planning on getting an EV. The thing is that with the tax breaks expiring, I was like, try to do this before the end of September. Okay? All right? Let's not wait till lease end. Okay? Let's, in the car, we could get out of the car with no money. It's like we had not put any money down. We could just trade the... It was in a lease where, we with the value of the car, we could walk, we just turn it in. It's fine. No problem. There's no, there was no, oh my God, this car owes more than it's worth. It's got excess miles or something. No. We could just, whatever. This was just any time over the next 6 months, we could just basically just go and like get a new car at this point. So we know it was coming. So we did get, in the end, my wife, I said, look, I don't know, what is it that you're interested in? And she had been all over the place about what kind of car she wanted, okay? At some point, she had even decided, I don't even want an electric vehicle, even though many times she had said she did. I want another hybrid, maybe. Okay, so, I don't know. She'd been going back and forth.
Wait, let me guess. She wants one of those little three-wheelers where the front opens up instead of doors on the side.
Not that. As far as I know, the closest thing that she had gotten to that over the last few years was the little BMW i3, which if anybody hasn't looked at, you got to look it up on. It's this little tiny little station wagon. It's hatchback
that's
thing.
Cute. I like it.
Yes.
I just looked it up.
As a matter of fact, here's the thing. BMW was ahead of its time with that car. That car did not sell well. That car was released 10 years ago. The reality is that people now are saying, you know what, BMW, if you went back to production of this car would sell very well now. It was just ahead of its time. It was really, a lot of people that actually own, the last ones that were made are like, this is a great car. And some people grabbed some recently, grabbed the used one, and they said, what the hell, this car looks like they could just be selling it right now. It came in pure electric hybrid. You could get both. Okay. Basically, they called it like a range extender kind of a thing. It was a nice car, so she had considered that at some point. She had looked at a lot of different cars. Cadillac. I had not been keen on a Tesla. We had actually, I know she had looked at some, when they used to have a retail store, but in their omniscience, they decided to get rid of retail stores because why do you need people to see product? Anyway, they got to trust Elon that it's all there. She didn't like it anyway. So then all of a sudden she said, look, I want a BMW. Let's go see the BMWs. And I'm like, okay. And at first what she wanted to see was the SUV. But she tried the SUV. She didn't like it. I didn't particularly like the BMW iX myself. One thing that I will say that drove me nuts is it is an insistence now with a lot of the EV manufacturers to have a fixed glass roof that doesn't have a shade. I want a fucking sunshade that I can close completely. Darkening it is it has this thing. Well, you can darken it. No, look. I don't want it just darkened. I want to be able to fucking deploy a shade over the damn roof. And that didn't have that. I will say another thing that really irritated me. I was in the back seat. It doesn't have door handles. It had these buttons to open the rear doors. I couldn't figure out how to fucking open a door. Can I just say something? A car needs to be able to be easily opened by anybody in the car. This is I don't understand the obsession with car manufacturers on fucking hyper complicating something that should be simple.
And also without thinking about it.
Yeah, I don't need to be thinking about opening the damn door.
Like a random person, I mean, not like you want random people entering your car without notice, but like you should be able to pick up a random relative who's never seen your car before, and they should be able to get into the back seat without you explaining.
Without instructions! And get out!
Yes.
Especially the getting out part. Like in an accident or something.
Oh, it was hard to get out too.
It was hard to get out. It was more. No, it was hard. Yeah, it was a little bit hard to get in. Yes, because I remember the doorknobs were a little bit like, what the fuck are the doorknobs? But it was harder to get out.
Okay.
That really pissed me off. But I didn't say anything because this is her car, and I'm just like, look,
whatever's good for you.
Whatever she,
I will be clear. Like the car my wife is in, and now of course since I've updated, she wants a new car too at some point. But she's wanted a new car for a long time. But
it's old. I mean, it's been that car is what
it's only a couple years behind mine. And by the way,
but that's like 10 years. That's 10 years.
Yeah,
right.
I still really like my Ioniq, right? But anyway, no. But I've always hated her car. I
you never liked that car.
I never liked her car. I despised her car. I don't like the way it's laid out. I don't like the internal stuff. I don't like just the physical layout of the controls and how it feels to sit in it. I never liked it. But it was her car, and she liked it, and she liked it. So what
that's all that matters.
To say about it?
Exactly.
So
that was I was like in the IX.
Have to drive it, but not all the time. So whatever.
Look, I was in the IX, and I was like, the one thing that I was working on is like, we had a budget, and we had like, what the numbers worked. I mean, the one thing is I was doing I said, look, you need to pick what it is. I'll figure out the financial deal. Okay, don't worry about that. Let me just. Let me see what it is. It fits in our budget and whatever. We talked about, we're trying to stay within a certain range of the payment where she was right now. So we'd agree on that. And I said, listen, let me deal with that. Okay, so I know what you want. So let me work on that part. So look, so I was like, even though that car was more expensive, the deals or whatever, it'll work out, whatever. So I'm like, look, whatever, this is in the range. I saw the numbers. If she likes it, I'm like, I may not like it, but whatever. It's her choice. Well, she hated it. Okay, all right? She didn't like it. She drove it, and she hated it. This thing's too big. What the fuck? Okay. It doesn't drive like a fucking BMW. And I'm like, okay, so then she saw well, is an i4. The i4 is a small sports sedan. Okay. I was like, oh, well, I mean, we don't really need an SUV anymore. I mean, I got a station wagon. It's got plenty of room. Okay.
Okay.
Yep. So we don't really need the SUV anymore. We needed it when Manu was little, but honestly, right now we don't really need it. And so she was like, well, let me try the little sports sedan. Well, she tried it. She loved it. Okay. She loved it. And it was actually cheaper than the other car too, which that worked out well. And so we got that. It's great. That car is great. I really, she honestly, I'd considered that to replace my car a couple of times. I looked at it. I really liked it. Either i4 or the i5. This car, it's great. Okay, I cannot say enough good things. Very efficient electrically. It's very comfortable. The electronics are great. The only mistake I did is I didn't realize I didn't have the active cruise control package. But I realize right now that because of the way we drive and how she uses it, really don't miss it that much. I thought I would a lot more. Okay? Never commute in that car. Whatever. I realized, it's not that big a deal. I'm like, I realized. But next time I'll pay, But I didn't realize it on the package. The damn sticker confused me. It had these words, how automakers do. It had dynamic cruise control. Dynamic cruise control does not mean active cruise control.
So what was the difference between those two terms?
I'm not sure
what was missing.
I don't know. Well, the dynamic doesn't. What?
I mean, is it like old fashioned? Just set the speed and that's it? Because that's not dynamic at all.
It also had this thing where you could set it to follow the speed limits. It does have that.
Okay, interesting.
That is an interesting feature.
It won't stop for the car that's slow in front of you, but it'll make sure if the speed limit goes from 50 to 40, it'll do it.
It will slow the car down. Yes. Which that's interesting. Okay, I thought but it won't do that. But by the way, I do realize, also, which I find is that because of traffic, how it is in Florida, the thing about slowing down for the cars in front of you many times is quite irritating. Because you get cut off so often here. The fucking car, I realize now, driving both back to back in like a highway, that you get cut off so often that having the car slow down repeatedly for these assholes also can get very annoying. So there's pros and cons, is what I've realized right now with having it or not.
You'd rather hit them?
I won't rather hit them, no, but I would rather change. I'll see it and I change lanes than have the car abruptly, repeatedly slow down.
See, I am completely of the mind of like, I get in the lane that I know I'm going to need to exit as soon as humanly possible. I remember, like, I'll do this when in my 25-mile commute to work right now. Like, as soon as I get on the highway, I know which lane I'm going to need to be in 15 miles later, and I get in the proper lane and I just stay in the lane. But my most extreme version of this is when I used home to the Washington, D.C. area from Pittsburgh when we lived there. I would get on the highway in Pittsburgh and immediately
on the right lane,
get in the exit lane for Breezewood. And I would stay in that lane for something like 130 miles to Breezewood.
Well, to be fair, if I remember correctly, unless they've widened that turnpike, it's only 2 lanes.
No, it was. I believe it was more than 2. I forget. Like if I had,
there are large portions of that turnpike that were only 2 lanes. So in the end, if you're in the right lane, it's fine.
Yeah, I remember figuring out it was not the full right lane. I don't think it was the full left lane. I think it was a middle lane. So I think there were at least 3. But I remember there was a specific lane I could get into immediately after getting on the highway.
And you stay there for 130 miles. Okay.
Yes. Right. Yes. No matter what was going on, slow, whatever, I'd be in that lane.
Well, all right. Well, regardless, look, the car is great regardless. Okay. We really like it very much, and so, but this is one thing. So one day I have not really needed to use the DC charging. Okay. The fast charging. It does come with a package from Electrify America. But look, we have a charger here that works very well. One time that we left for the weekend, that she traveled, I plugged it in the garage, so it's no big deal. So we got a couple of options to charge here at the condo. It's no big deal. But I wanted to try it, okay, just to see how it worked, okay.
Oh, right, that was the whole point of the story. I forgot. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, the whole point was that, but I was telling the story because I hadn't talked about getting the car in the first place. So I go, right. And I'm like, so we go. I went one day that I took Manu out in the car, and I decided to stop at the turnpike where there in the turnpike stops in Florida. There are both Tesla fast chargers and FPL, Florida Power and Light, the local company, has these DC chargers, FPL Evolution, that they have those there. Right now, because BMW did make a deal with Tesla to be able to use their chargers, but it's not in place yet, okay? It's supposed to happen sometime in the next few months. They're going to mail BMW owners of electric cars, they're going to mail a Tesla adapter so they can use it. It's coming, but it's not set up yet. So I was going to try the FPL Evolution chargers there on there. So when I get to the stop, there's 4 chargers. Okay, there's one car that's charging. First charger I go grab broke. Something's wrong. Error. Not working. The next charger over, it says, okay, that one's available. So I move the car to go to that charger. The guy over there that's charging tells me, I tried to use that charger, it didn't work either. I'm like, fuck. So, well, let me try this. Okay. So I go and I try it anyway because it says it's working. Got there, plugged it in. No go. It wouldn't handshake. It kept throwing an error. It said that it's session starting, but no session started. The other charger neck was broken, and then he was using the one that was working. Okay. And I was like, well, we don't really need to charge right now, so I'm not going to wait. I was just trying to stop to try it, to see how it worked, okay? I didn't, right. That was the only reason. So, okay, fine. So let me see what the other options are. Well, since we had the Electrify America free charging, I'm like, okay, let me find... They say that there's an Electrify America that's near our house, okay? Let me go stop there. Let me give it a try. So we drove up, got to the Electrify America, which is at the mall near our house, about 3 miles away. But I got there. All 3 chargers were in use, okay? There are all 3 of them. There were like 2 BMWs and a Honda that were there that were using the chargers, okay? Because I also think that Honda also is giving away Electrify America, but there were only 3 chargers. I'm like, damn it, and they were all busy, okay? They were busy. Behind it, there was also a charger from EVgo, okay? So I go and I'm like, well, let me try the EVgo charger. It says a fast charger. Try the EVgo charger. That one's also broken. So I'm like, what motherfucker? What the hell? Another broken charger. What the hell? So I sat there for a little bit and waited. Actually, okay, so I'll wait. One of these people has to be almost done with their charging. And so they did. In a few minutes, they did. And I was able to plug it in. Now, what I did realize is that I had set up the free charging from Electrify America. But apparently, my wife, because she's the owner, is the only one that can use the free charging. I can't use that account. So when it did it, it connected, it handshake properly, but it said, hey, you don't have the Electrify America free deal. You got to pay. I got, whatever, I'll just try it. So I did manage so I just put the credit card, whatever. It is. I find Electrify America is expensive, relatively considering. I did find, because FPL, their charger, if they had worked, they're only charging 30 cents per kilowatt hour at the fast charging station. Electrify America is 55, which that is expensive. Okay. So I did manage to connect to the Electrify America one. There's one thing, though. Because the entire time, there were 3 cars there. I guess they don't have enough electrical infrastructure to get there to have 3 cars fast charging at full speed of the station at the same time, which is about
Okay.
250 kW. So I noticed that it had dropped the charging rate down to only about 120 kW. So it was not as fast as it should be. Okay. But my whole thing is, man, it took me 3 tries to get a working charger. Okay. Um, on my first attempt. Okay. Not exactly great.
I have yet to like I've plugged into Trickle Charge at home, but otherwise I've tried the Tesla fast charging, but I haven't tried anything that's not Tesla at this point. There's one that's convenient. That's sort of like if I go from home to work, I pass it. It's closer to home than to work, but I pass it, and so like if I figure if I need to do that, I'll stop on the way home from work. It's convenient. I just turn off. I just wait a few extra minutes before going home. The very first time I tried, I had the experience that you mentioned of like I plug in, it says it's working, and then it like stops almost instantly.
Yeah.
And then I tried that several times. I ended up, and I could be just completely superstitioning this.
Okay.
But I recognized a pattern at a certain point. It was like spot 3D did not work for me.
Ah.
So like,
so there was like one spot that was just fidgety with your car.
Apparently. So like,
okay.
I made a point like after that spot failed for me a couple times, I've never parked at that spot again.
And you've had no problems. Okay.
And I've had no problems. Well, at one point, like I got a little bit more, like I had another spot on that side. Like it's a double-sided thing. It's got like, yeah, I don't know, 10 charging spots or something, 5 on each side. And so now I always go to the other side completely, but it's worked and it has no problem. So anyway, shall we move on?
We can move on.
Okay. Since that took so long, shall I only do one movie instead of 2, or should I just try to power through both?
Let's do one.
Okay, the next movie from my list, which is now just checking, November 21st, 2024, was Guarding Tess from 1994. Do you have any memory, seen this movie, anything?
No.
The as usual, let me read the first couple paragraphs of the description. Secret Service agent Doug Chesnick takes pride in his job, performing his duties with the utmost professionalism. His assignment for the last 3 years has been a test of his patience. Doug is in charge of a team stationed in Ohio to protect Tess Carlisle, the widow of a former U.S. president. Tess is known for her diplomatic and philanthropic work, but seems to regard Doug less as a security officer and more as a domestic servant, not unlike her chauffeur Earl or her nurse Frederick. Doug's assignment with Tess comes to an end, so he's eager to be given a more challenging assignment. Tess decides that she wants him to stay, and Doug's assignment is extended. And then it continues from there. It's the dynamic between this
old curmudgeon
first lady, old curmudgeonly first lady, and the Secret Service agent assigned to protect her. And there are a number of dynamics between the two of these as characters, and of course it's a Secret Service agent. So at some point there is a threat to this woman, and what happens then? I'll give it a thumbs up. It was a fun little movie. It's not like well, I always say this isn't going to win any awards, but let's just check, make sure it didn't.
Yeah, make sure it did. If it did, yeah, because I don't know.
It does not look like it won any awards. It had mixed reviews. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 57%. A weighted score of 50 out of 100 from the critics. Mixed or average reviews. Washington Post said it was derivative of other recent films like Driving Miss Daisy, which I've never seen, The Bodyguard, which I've never seen, and In the Line of Fire, which I've never seen.
I don't think you can compare this damn movie to The Bodyguard and The Line of Fire. I'm sorry, I've seen all those movies. By the way, I liked this movie. It was funny. Okay?
Guarding Tess?
Guarding Tess. It was a funny movie.
You said you didn't remember it. You remember
I didn't remember, but now I went and like started describing it. I'm like, now I remember that I did watch this movie. And I'm like, yeah, I was mistaken. I'm like, I thought, because I heard the year first, like, as 1954, not 1994.
94.
Well, you were breaking up a little bit on my end, so it sounded like 54. And I'm like, there's a Guarding Tess in 1954? And then I realized that I looked in the list. I'm like, oh, no, it's 1994. I heard that wrong. this movie was funny.
It was a cute movie. Yeah. It was sweet in the right places. It was funny in the right places.
I don't know why people. I mean, the people, the reviewers, giving it a fucking hard time. It was a fun movie. The dynamic between the primary actors is quite good. You know, it was funny. It was cute. I mean, it was enjoyable. I mean, yeah, nobody's gonna give it an Academy Award, but you know what? There's a movie that you watch it, and you're like, yeah, you know, that was a fun time. I like this. This is good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I don't have a lot to say about it. Thumbs up. You know,
yes.
Pull it up in your favorite streaming. I don't know where it is, but it's in. I presume it's available somewhere. This website and app. Just I recommend for folks if you want to find out stuff like this. It's called Just Watch.
Okay.
And you can type in any movie or TV show or whatever, and it'll tell you where it's available. So, for instance,
can I just say, the Apple TV does do a good job of
there's
telling
some
you
services
where
that don't participate in that though.
But it does do a pretty good job of telling you where the hell the movie's available.
Right. So this one, for example, does not appear to be available to stream for it's not available. It is on Prime Video to stream. It looks like. So if you have Prime Video, you can stream it for free. Otherwise, it's available to purchase from Amazon or Apple. You know. And speaking of that, I do want to mention one other thing. So anyway, thumbs up, Guarding Tess. Go find it. But you had been given the assignment to watch Superman, the new Superman. So I will say that as of a couple of days ago, it is now available online.
It is?
It is still in the theaters. It is not available for free. Also, it looks like you can stream it free on Prime right now. But it's available for purchase from both Amazon and Apple as of a couple days ago. So, anyway, that's
okay. Fine. Well, that simplifies my problem.
So your assignment has been renewed.
Okay. I am right now going to put it on my Apple TV to watch list. So when I go in there, I'll watch it ASAP.
And then once you have seen it, we can make arrangements with Peter for when he wants to come on the show and talk about Superman.
Okay, here is the TV app. Here we go. Let's take care of this. Like right now, let's make sure it's in there. Okay. Well, I have been, I've also have been doing a very good Sam impersonation of not sending out these postcards.
Oh, right. The postcards. Yes.
Yeah. I've also been doing a very good job of that as well.
You've been rolling random numbers and it just hasn't come up yet.
Yeah, basically, or just having them here and just forgetting about it. Well, in part, to my defense, I did leave on a business trip last Sunday. Wasn't even Monday. I did not get back until Wednesday night, and on Thursday we had to take my son to a doctor's appointment in the city, which basically ate up the whole day. And so I really, about the only real day that I may have had a chance to do that was actually yesterday, since last week. So yeah, but I have it here now. I'm gonna try to make sure that I complete my assigned tasks by next show.
Okay. So we'll take a break. I will give a preview. Next week's movies, assuming I do two, will be King Kong versus Godzilla, the 1962 version, and All About Eve from 1950. So those will be the next two movies to be discussed, assuming we're not talking about Superman. So,
okay.
Anyway, time for a breaky break, and then we will talk newsy news. So,
by the way, I just purchased it on Apple TV just to make sure that I have it.
There you go.
Okay,
it was like $30.
It's $30, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe your family who already saw it at the theater will watch it again with you.
Maybe. Probably not, but
maybe. But probably not.
But probably not.
Okay. Here we go. Break time. You're listening to this podcast. Do you like it?
No!
Do you want to support the show?
No!
Well, after you have subscribed to the show, followed us on Facebook, and told all your friends they should be listening to, what else can you do?
I won't subscribe!
You can help fund our Patreon at patreon.com/Curmudgeon's Corner. Patreon is a way you can throw us a few bucks a month to help out with the expenses of the show. You know, web hosting, equipment, a little bit of advertising to promote the show, and maybe every once in a while some much needed sedatives for Yvonne. At different contribution levels, you can get a mention on the show, our Curmudgeon's Corner postcard, or even a Curmudgeon's Corner mug. Fun stuff.
Not fun.
In any case, the contributions help tell us that you enjoy and appreciate the show.
I really hate Curmudgeon's Corner.
Are we worth $1 a month?
No!
$5 a month?
No!
Or if you are nuts about us, maybe even more.
100 billion dollars, even though you don't have anywhere near $1 billion.
If we're worth anything to you at all, send it our way at patreon.com/Curmudgeon's Corner.
Alex hates, really hates Curmudgeon's Corner! That's really mean, isn't it? But I hate Curmudgeon's Corner, but I really do!
Okay, Yvonne, we're back, and it's your turn to pick a newsy topic. What's the newsy topic of the day? The first one.
The Trump-Putin summit.
Okay.
How did that go, Sam? Is the war over?
Oh, yes. The war is over. Everything has worked out great. The Ukrainians are thrilled and jumping up and down in the streets.
And we have, and there are these enormous sanctions now on Putin, and we arrested him when he arrived, right, on the ICC warrant.
For his war crimes. Yeah, we arrested him. No, not at all. So
this was the dumbest fucking summit ever. Might as well have been like, there was a movie called Canadian Bacon. Did you ever watch that movie?
I have not watched Canadian Bacon. I think I've added it to my list before because you mentioned something, but
there was a part where the president was flailing, okay? And so this was when the Cold War was over, okay? So he decided for some reason to have a summit with the Russian premier or whatever. And the Russian premier basically came over and laughed at him and said, at that point, it's different. It's like, what the fuck you got me here for? You guys already won. We don't give a shit about any of this. And then they laughed, and it was an embarrassment to the president. Basically, that's what this was.
Look,
I don't. What the?
Look, people had talked about this before in terms of, even before it happened. Donald Trump was asking for this meeting. He invited Putin to the U.S. for the first time in many, many years that he's been in the U.S., even longer since there's been a U.S. president, Russian leader.
Obama didn't invite. Was during Obama's term. Was Putin in the U.S.?
The last time Putin was in the U.S. was to give a speech at the UN, and he did not meet the president while he was here for that.
What year was that?
I think it was like 18 years ago, something like that.
Fuck, exactly. It was like 18 years ago. It was like a long time ago.
And I think the last time a Russian leader and U.S. president actually met on U.S. soil was probably Gorbachev or something. I could be wrong.
It was Yeltsin.
Yeltsin came to the U.S.? Okay.
Yeltsin came to the U.S. Don't you remember that one time that he was laughing?
I remember the time Gorbachev came to the U.S. and
there was that one time that Yeltsin and Clinton were on stage, and I can't remember what the hell happened, and like Clinton couldn't stop himself from laughing.
Okay, I don't remember.
Okay,
but I believe you. I believe you.
Clinton, a laugh attack. It was 1999. Let me see. Well, let me make sure it was in the U.S. You know what? Hold on. Wait. Yeltsin, Clinton meeting, U.S.
Okay, list of Russia-U.S. summits.
Yes, 1995.
So let me give the list. We had this one that just happened: Donald Trump and Putin in Anchorage. The one before that was Biden and Putin in Geneva in 2021.
Right.
And Trump and Putin in Helsinki in 2018.
Yeah, that was Helsinki. I remember that.
Obama and Medvedev in 2010 in Prague.
Okay.
George W. Bush and Putin in Bratislava in 2005.
Okay.
George W. Bush and Putin in Moscow in 2002. George W. Bush and Putin in 2001. I'm going back until I get to the U.S. Bill Clinton and Putin in Moscow, 2000. Bill Clinton and Yeltsin in Istanbul in 1999. Bill Clinton and Yeltsin in Oslo in 1999. Bill Clinton and Yeltsin in Auckland, New Zealand in 1999. Bill Clinton and Yeltsin met a lot.
Yeah, they did.
Bill Clinton and Yeltsin in Cologne, Germany in 1999. Bill Clinton
they liked each other.
In Moscow in 1998. Bill Clinton and Yeltsin in Birmingham, UK in 1998. And here we go, Bill Clinton and Yeltsin in Denver in 1997.
There you go.
That was the last time there was one in the U.S. And my God, I'm not even halfway through the Bill Clinton Yeltsin meetings.
There was a lot of meetings.
There were a lot.
They genuinely liked each other.
Yeah. I guess so. Yeah. And anyway, but here's the thing.
The good old days.
Yes. They, in any case, Trump was asking for this meeting. Trump gave no conditions for this meeting. Trump invited him to the U.S. for this meeting. Trump was convinced of his ability to, we can work this out if we just talk in person. And like people have pointed out repeatedly over the last few weeks, usually when you have high-level meetings between world leaders, whatever deal you're going to make is made in advance. You have staffers make the deal. Maybe the principals come on to push it along here or there, but you are working out all the details. You have a document ready. The meeting is basically stick it in front of them for them to sign.
Okay.
Now there are exceptions. There are exceptions. There's the famous like Reykjavik thing with Reagan and Gorbachev.
But they didn't make a deal.
And they didn't make a deal, right? They came close, but and there's a whole story about that. That's a fun little thing. Look it up if you don't know the history. But in any case, so Putin gets there.
By the way, it reminds me that thing about deals like that. It reminds me of like trade shows. We have this thing where companies go and like they participate in these trade shows and announce these deals, and almost universally, those deals have been in negotiation for months and months in advance, and it's almost like it's just a formality what's happening at the trade show. Same thing.
Yeah. Anyway, they both get to the airport. First of all, Putin makes Donald wait because they were going to do this thing where they get out of the planes at the same time and they come together and blah, blah, blah. Putin makes Donald wait. They eventually do their little walking. They roll out a red carpet for Putin. They come together. Then the first thing is like Donald invites Putin to ride with him on the Beast to where
what
they're
the
having the
fuck was that?
Now, apparently, it had all been arranged. They all had their own cars. It was all set up. It was going to work that way. That's the normal way you do this.
Right.
Apparently, protocol-wise, it has been extremely rare for foreign leaders of any type to ride in the president's limousine.
Right.
And when it has happened, it's been close allies, not like not like people we have an adversarial relationship with. So anyway, so he invites him on, and Putin's like, sure. And I've heard people speculating afterwards of what the hell are they going to have to do to check this car out from top to bottom, because I mean, Putin probably wasn't expecting this, but at the same time, remember, before
he was a KGB agent.
Yes,
he's the head of the KGB.
His entire career has been in intelligence. So, if there's anything to be, and by the way, people were complaining even that the meeting was at an Air Force base.
Which I was like, what?
It surrounded.
We just let all those fucking Russian military people come into a fucking military base.
You got all the planes, you got this, you got that. Apparently, they had, I wouldn't say completely free reign, but they were able to wander around some in the area. Some of the staging areas, they pulled some of the planes up right next to it to show off. They had a flyover, of a few things, so
I don't remember.
Trump wanted to show off.
Okay, Jesus Christ, I mean, that was the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen. I had never seen especially in a meeting like that, military doing a fucking flyover. I'm like, what the fuck?
Anyway, so Putin was really very happy. He was smiling. They were laughing.
Oh my God, Putin was like beaming.
There's also video of Trump while he was waiting for Putin to come over, looking all excited.
He looked like a fucking little kid waiting, like his father was arriving. I don't know. This is nuts.
People, by the way, also made fun. When Trump was walking down the red carpet, there's sped up video that shows he was not even close to maintaining a straight line. He was weaving back and forth. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Anyway, then they had their actual meetings. The meetings were cut short. They were supposed to have a lunch. They were supposed to have up to 6 hours of meetings. They were done in 2. They were going to have a news conference where theoretically there were going to be questions asked. Trump likes taking questions. There were no questions. Speculation is that was Putin saying no, but just the news conference itself, optics. And usually the host talks first and sort of frames the conversation. Putin talked first at the news conference for several minutes, ongoing and whatever. And they didn't say a lot. Like Putin in his initial statement spent a lot of time talking about how we're neighbors, how we can be friends, blah, blah, blah. And of course, a big part of this, by the way, is Putin, as they were saying, coming in from the cold. He has been isolated as a pariah since the invasion of Ukraine. A number of years back. And has not been having these kinds of meetings with any significant world leaders.
No.
And he's met with various people that, North Korea,
like North Korea and Xi, like that's it, basically.
Yeah,
China and North Korea, that's it.
And a number of like smaller countries.
Yeah. Like, well, whatever. I mean, he's meeting Lukashenko or the guy in Kazakhstan, whatever.
Yeah. But of sort of the major world power countries, he has not been meeting with them because he's out in the cold. And they've been very much saying, you are not welcome until this is resolved and whatever. And so this was a major success for Putin before anything else happened, just by the fact that he had this meeting at all.
Let's be clear about why is this so idiotic. Also, Putin, on the record, has said that the greatest catastrophe in Russia was the collapse of the Soviet Union.
Yes.
It is the
and
loss
the one guy,
of...
the foreign minister or whatever, had the
Lavrov wore a fucking CCCP T-shirt, whatever, under his jacket. Yeah. I mean, to bring the point, bring the point home. Look.
Yes.
This was and it was for the most part because of the collapse of the prestige of his country and standing in the world order as the other superpower, and them just being another country. Him being brought over here like this, in this situation, to negotiate a war that isn't even between the United States and Russia. It's against, Ukraine, which they keep, what they keep framing is like a client state, like in the good old days of the Cold War. This entire, and bringing him over here so he can go and tell Trump, fuck you, no deal, is a massive, massive, massive win for Putin at home.
And by the way, let's get to that in terms of what happened in the actual deal. Like in the press conference, Donald Trump, when he finally started talking, like before he started going Russia, and going and completely rambling, mentioned, we agreed on some things, we didn't agree on some other things. I have to go talk to, I'll call the Ukrainians later. I'll call the Europeans later. But basically, there were absolutely no details whatsoever of anything that they agreed on, anything they didn't disagree on. Donald Trump did say there's no deal till there's a deal. So obviously there was no deal. And of course, from the very beginning of this, the Europeans and Ukrainians were pissed off because why are you talking about the Ukrainians without the Ukrainians there? And, but apparently there was reporting just in the few hours before we started recording the show that apparently one of the things that Donald Trump has told the Ukrainians is, look, dudes, you're going to have to give up some territory, which they've always had as one of their red lines that they're not going to do. Now, and just to be clear, there are different levels of this, right? There's we will have a ceasefire and acknowledge the de facto situation on the ground that the Russians are in control of this territory, but we will not give up our legal claim.
Exactly.
And we will look to resolve this in the future. We fully expect to get back this territory in the future. We do not give up our claim, but we recognize the facts on the ground and we'll agree to a ceasefire, sort of freezing the front lines.
Right.
That seems like the reasonable middle ground, honestly. Like, Yvonne, I remember Yvonne and I talking the week after the invasion happened on this show, saying that frankly, that was the likely probable outcome, is at some point there would be something where de facto Russia would consolidate the territory it had.
Yeah.
And Ukraine would have to give that up at least for some period of time. And oftentimes those situations do become permanent, but in the meantime, you maintain the legal fiction and you sort of move on. And frankly, like, I think Zelensky has even said, like, there's no way we will fully resolve this territory while Putin is in power. So this is something to be resolved diplomatically, years down the road when Russia's under new leadership,
Right.
But we'll see how Ukraine reacts to that. But I'm not thinking well, especially since from reports that kind of let's freeze the front lines but not resolve any legal claims. Russia hasn't been particularly amenable to that. They've changed their constitution, so legally these parts are parts of Russia.
Parts of Russia, correct? Yep.
So they don't want to do that either.
Right.
So we don't have a deal. We don't have anything. And I think you are fundamentally right that Putin came to this meeting to tell Donald, fuck you.
Yep.
And
in person.
And he did.
Yep.
In person.
And be able to show everybody back home, you see, I went over there, told them to go fuck themselves, and I'm back here, and he looks weak.
And he did look weak, and he looked defeated. Like, if you looked at him in the press conference, he did not look happy.
I saw something about him showing up he had agreed to an interview with Hannity later that evening, where he started off by basically saying, I don't want to be here. Why the hell did I agree to this interview?
Yes, he said something that on camera. Yes.
I mean, literally, he is at the mouthpiece of his fucking administration. And he was like, started out by saying he didn't want to be there.
Well, because he expected to come in here and talk about his big success. Even though he had no plan whatsoever.
But this is a guy who always has managed to lie flat out about any loss being a win. And he couldn't even do that.
Right. And there were clips of like people on Fox talking about how this did not go well. You expect Fox to try to spin it in the best possible way. And even the people on Fox were like, yeah, this did not go well.
No.
And look, he ended it early. He hightailed it back to Washington. It's clear, he got there and found out right away that this is not going anywhere. There's nothing to talk about, really. Putin is not willing to move on anything. Like Donald Trump, also some of the reporting coming up to this was like Donald Trump was trying to sweeten the deal for Putin, like with things like offering him mineral rights in Alaska.
Like, what the fuck? I mean, are we out of our fucking minds?
He wasn't.
How the hell could one of his aides not tell him? If that idea came up, to just yell at him and say, "Are you out of your mind?"
And it wasn't even that; it was one of the offers that we were going to make.
That's what I'm saying. How the hell did anybody tell Trump that that's insane?
Yes. Well, he didn't offer to sell Alaska back.
Well, he forgot that Alaska is part of the United States.
Well, yes, he did do that too. He said he was meeting him in Russia, but yeah.
No, but not that. After he finished the meeting, he kept saying, well, I'm going to go back to the U.S. I'm sorry, and Biden is the senile guy.
Alaska's not the real U.S.
Right.
Come on.
Yes, I know. Anything that's not the lower 48, I know. Being from one of those places, yeah, it's like not the real U.S.,
Yeah. And I guess, and also you had mentioned at the beginning of this conversation, are there huge sanctions now? Because even within the 24 hours before this meeting,
he had been threatening,
Trump was in interviews saying, if we don't get major progress out of this, we're going to take major actions. Now, he hadn't meant sanctions as one possibility, but he'd also had an interview like a week or two ago saying, yeah, we can do sanctions, but sanctions won't really make a difference because like we already have sanctions and Russia doesn't do a lot of trade with us anyway, and blah, 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 blah. So sanctions probably aren't going to be very effective. They were talking about secondary sanctions, where we would put sanctions on countries that bought oil from Russia.
Exactly, like India, which, that was one of the things
that could be more significant. Of course,
that would be far more significant, yes.
Of course, we're also screwing with them with tariffs, and that's also playing into the game of where we are anyway.
Right.
But Trump had hinted at other actions that weren't purely economic, too. He hadn't said anything specifically, but he kept talking about how there would be severe consequences if Putin did not move towards at least a ceasefire. And he had said, coming up to this, that he would be really disappointed if we didn't come out of this with a ceasefire. But he also had been spending like the last week before this. Well, it was only planned for like a week. It was really quickly set up, but he was trying to lower expectations. He was saying, I only feel like there's a 25% chance of success here. So he was lowering expectations. At the same time, he was talking about he would be disappointed if it didn't succeed. And he was all over the place with this thing and just came in and got rolled.
Yep.
Your summary is the best I've heard yet. Putin comes, says, go fuck yourself, and leaves.
Yep. Basically.
And Donald Trump sits there and takes it because he has no choice. There's nothing else he can do.
Nothing else he can do.
Because, he was talking the other day. Well, the other day. Like, remember the meeting with Zelensky where he was like, you have no cards?
Yep.
Guess who has no cards now?
Trump.
No
cards.
Yeah. I mean, none that we're willing to use anyway. Like, I mean, he could come in there and say, we're going to put the full might of the U.S. armed forces into the battle in Ukraine. But he's not going to do that.
He's not going to do that.
We could probably push the Russians out of eastern Ukraine. Like, if we
went all in. Well, if we did if we did, say...
Even just some air action. Of course, the risk of that is like, but...
No, I mean, you are right. I mean, if we went in and we decided to go and, like, do a aerial assault on Russian troops on that area, we could probably decimate, like, for the most part, their ability to engage in meaningful war that would allow the Ukrainians on the ground to be able to push them back. But we're not going to do that.
No, we're not. By the way, I'm not saying that we should. There's a lot of risk in that scenario.
There is a lot of risk in that scenario. It's why Biden and everybody else had avoided it. I mean, there's a lot of risk in that scenario. I mean, look, you could send a whole bunch of sorties of B-52s and fucking just start dropping ordnance on top of these guys like nonstop. Send quite a lot of cruise missiles, Tomahawks, shit. I mean, look, man. Let me tell you something. Like in the past, when we've sent our aerial assault, a full-fledged aerial assault, forget about what happens after the war, because in many places we didn't commit enough troops for the Ukrainians. We screwed that up. But our aerial assault, in the last 30 years, it's been deployed. When we go, say, fuck it, we're sending the full assault. It's been quite effective.
Well, and look, there are possibilities that are even less than that would make a difference. I mean, I've heard people talk about, well, just provide air support to keep, to take control of the Ukrainian.
The sky, just exactly, to completely just, eliminate the threat from anything aerial coming from Russia. That would be a huge boost.
But the point, though, is that we're not going to do that, and there are good reasons to not do that,
right? Which
severely limits the options, and especially since Donald Trump has also, and the Republicans more generally at this point, have also said we're not really doing a lot of military support on other things too. We have trickled a few things, like Donald Trump hasn't stopped it completely, but we've way cut back. The Europeans are trying to pick up some of the slack, but basically we are not supporting the Ukrainians at the same level as we did at the beginning.
No.
Even in terms of, by the way, a lot of the support was, we will let you buy stuff from us.
Right.
As opposed to just flat out, here's free stuff. And even when there was free stuff, it was, we replenished our own stocks as part of that, and it was a good deal for us. And we were paying American companies, but so we've been in a stalemate in this situation for a long time now. The front lines have not moved significantly. The Russians have made progress the last year and a half, 2 years even, on the front lines, but it's been tiny. It's basically been a stalemate for years now, and where do we go? Oh, and I guess the Trump has no cards. I just realized I said that after I saw the Atlantic has an article specifically titled "Trump has no cards," which I saw out of the corner of my eye right before I said that. So, not completely original thought. So what next year? I feel like I posted on both the Curmudgeon's Corner Slack and Blue Sky that, essentially, honestly, guys, coming out of this with the situation essentially the same as we came into it is probably one of the best outcomes we could have hoped for out of this, because there was reporting that Trump was basically willing to sell out the Ukrainians here in all kinds of different ways. The mineral rights for Alaska, and pressuring Ukraine to just give up the territory without a security guarantee or anything. And just, he was willing to potentially take most of what the Russians were asking for. And even then the Russians told him to go fuck himself. But, I say that it's sort of we're coming out of it the same as we came into it. But I've heard a lot of commentary since this summit ended that really we are worse off because Putin did humiliate Trump and show how weak Trump was in this situation.
Well, we are better off in this situation. I do think that in terms of also his position with his supporters, well, at least for us that want to get rid of this guy as soon as possible, that was a positive in that respect. I mean, it's another showing of what a weak, how weak he is in reality. Because all this shit that, I know you had it as a subject. We'll go into that later. We can go that next. Like this whole thing in DC, like right now, for example. These are all the things that an insecure, weak man does. Right. That is what this is. I mean, by the way, this all started, with the whole Epstein thing.
Yes, we're still.
And we're still.
But notice, at the very least, a lot of the conversation over the last 48 hours
has shifted.
And
that was his whole goal. That was his primary goal.
So maybe this really was a success.
In that sense, yes. In the sense of driving conversation away from that.
Yeah. I honestly, over the last half week or so, I started to think in a few places, hey, maybe they've outlasted this. The Epstein stuff has slowed down.
I think here is the problem with this Epstein stuff.
Congress is coming back, and they've got hearings scheduled.
Listen, but he's managed to make it recede, but the problem is that he hasn't managed to make it go away. And this damn Epstein thing is like, it's like, what the hell was that psycho killer that always kept coming back? Can't remember one of those movies. But it's just...
Like Jason or something?
Yeah, exactly. This Epstein thing is just like that. It doesn't... Yeah, you could make him you're pushing it aside for a little bit, but man, it has a tendency to just fucking not die. That's the thing about it. It still continues to just be out there.
So since we appear to be moving on from the summit, let's go ahead and take a break, and then we'll hit all this other stuff. You mentioned the National Guard in D.C. We've got the whole redistricting mess with Texas and California, which then leads us into how Gavin Newsom has been doing and what that whole thing looks like. So we will take a break, and then we will come back, and we'll talk about all that kind of stuff. Back after this. Why did I say this? Anyway, here you go. Okay, we are back. So you started with the weaknesses that is the National Guard in D.C. So let's talk about that a little bit. Donald Trump was like, "Hey, D.C. crime
cesspool of crime,
cesspool, horrible mess, blah 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 blah. We're going to come in. We're going to take over the local police force. We're going to bring in the National Guard. We're going to do all this." They did bring in the National Guard. They tried to bring in their own. They tried to fully take over the DC police force and bring in their own new commissioner. They were taken to court for that and caved on that almost immediately. It didn't even get to the point of the judge saying, "No, you're wrong." They came to a deal. They backed off. Apparently, the law in which they were trying to take over the local police, what the law actually says, and this is the DC self-rule law from the, I don't know, like 40, 50 years ago, 1980s. I was going to say 70s, but whatever.
I think
back then.
Oh, fuck.
Anyway, doesn't matter. But what it says is that the president can request the DC police's assistance in federal matters, as opposed to specifically saying
73. You're right.
What was the year?
73. It's 50.
73. Okay. But it apparently does not include language to let them just take over. Instead, you can ask them to help with stuff. So they withdrew what they said about the taking over completely, and instead have submitted a request for the DC police to help with immigration stuff, which is probably more likely to meet legal muster. But in the meantime, they've brought in the National Guard. They're doing other things. And so we've got lots and lots of video of these. Oh, and not just the National Guard, I should say, like the FBI, the DEA, all these federal law enforcement agencies have been taken off their normal duties and been asked to patrol neighborhoods in DC instead. And so we've got all these videos of like these federal officers wandering the streets of DC. In some cases, they are blocking off streets and stopping everybody who goes by to question them. There's video.
Isn't that completely fucking illegal? Seriously.
It
is.
I mean, well,
they have to have some kind of suspicion.
It could be. Maybe they're setting them up as DUI checkpoints. I don't know. There are ways to do that kind of stuff. I don't know. I'm sure there will be legal challenges left and right. There have been protests on the street of the locals in the neighborhood.
They taunted one group,
and
yelling them until they fucking like picked up and left. They basically just made them miserable.
Yes.
And they in one place until they just finally gave up and left.
And every place they've tried to do those, like, we're stopping everybody on this street, from what I can tell, the locals have gone out a couple blocks in each direction and just gone with signs and just have been telling everybody, go somewhere else, go around,
go around.
You know, and so they haven't. So you end up with lots and lots of pictures of these guys just sitting around doing nothing. There are a few videos of them talking to people on
just
their
like
porches
California, same fucking thing.
Yeah, there was one video of this one group of like FBI agents or something who were talking to a group of people on their porch, saying, you know, hey, have you heard about this thing from Donald Trump? Like, Donald Trump doesn't want you drinking on your porch anymore, you know. Yeah, he doesn't want it looking like this, you know. We're gonna clean this stuff up.
I can't drink on my porch? Tell them to go fuck themselves.
Yeah, well, in many places, I'm not sure about DC, there are laws about open alcohol containers in places.
But it's wait. On your porch, that's your private property.
In some places, that counts as public because you can be seen from the street. You can do it in your backyard, but not your front porch, not where you can see it from the street.
What the fuck kind of goddamn Nazi laws are these?
Anyway, so they were talking to these people, but I've also heard reports that almost all of the places where these officers are patrolling are like the tourist and business places. You know, like they're hanging out at the mall by the Washington Monument. They're hanging out in Georgetown by all the restaurants and stuff. They are not going to the neighborhoods where crime is actually a problem.
Okay, so let me ask a question. Why do you think that is? Could I say you're those agents and you just got sent to do something you really didn't want to do?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
You go to the nice places. And you
exactly. So you don't have to deal with this shit.
Now, also, and this has been pointed out over and over and over again, but just to make sure this is clear to everybody, DC is very close to 60-year lows.
Low in crime!
It's been on a downward
trend. I've been robbed in DC, and I know that DC ain't like when I got robbed like 30 years ago.
Like a number of people have pointed out, like almost everywhere in the country, there was a spike during the COVID years. Things went back up, but they're now down again. And continuing a downward trend that we've been on since the 1970s. Like, crime as an issue, like the Republicans, and not just the Republicans, lots of other people too, make an issue of crime because it's easy, because it's a, let me find this thing I shared on the Curmudgeon's Corner Slack from George Conway, had retweeted somebody else, or not tweet, but you know. Hold on, let me find it. I specifically sent this so that I could easily find it later and talk about this.
You did a great job of saving it.
Yeah, I know. I did awesome. Okay, I found it. Now let me get the screen of the
By the way, while you find that, just by the way, in terms of crime, just overall, also Newsom this week hit back because of all of this shit where he went and specifically.
Oh yeah, DC's like not even anywhere close to the biggest problem.
But
in the country.
worse,
they're all red states.
No, exactly. That was the one thing he called out. He said, "Listen, what the hell are you coming to California when you know what? For example, Arkansas has double the crime rate of California. Okay, Oklahoma is 41% higher." He was like hitting them with the numbers. Like, so why the fuck aren't you going to those cities? What the hell are you coming here? The red states, the guys that voted for you, those are the guys that have the worst crime problem. It's Mississippi, it's Louisiana, it's Alabama. Those are 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, this ties into, and even if you start looking city by city, the pattern holds. Like,
yes,
yeah. But what people have pointed out, he's just targeting L.A., he's targeting D.C., and in his speech announcing D.C., he listed a whole bunch of cities. The one thing in common for every city he mentioned: high non-white populations.
Yep.
And in almost every case, black mayors. And even more so, black women mayors in most of them.
One thing that you posted, the White House was posting this stream of people being arrested. Hey, Sam, what was the common thread of all the pictures of the people that the White House had been posting that had been arrested as the federal, government tried to take over crime control? Well, what was the consistent theme?
They were all black people.
They're all black! All of them!
Now, to be fair, they did arrest that guy who threw a sandwich at an FBI agent.
Yeah, we're charging a guy that threw a sandwich with a felony.
That has been dismissed, by the way. Like, the judge.
Well, by the way, they tried 2 cases like that, took them to grand juries, and both grand juries declined to charge.
Yes, like related to these various protests and people trying to do stuff. In the sandwich guy's case, turns out, white guy, worked for DOJ. He has been fired from DOJ over this incident, by the way.
Yeah.
But he was up in the face of this officer. I'm not sure if they were FBI or some other federal agent, but he threw his wrapped hoagie Subway from sandwich. It was a Subway sandwich from Subway. He threw the wrapped sandwich at the guy, hit him in the shoulder. Then he runs away. And apparently he actually escaped at that point because he arranged to turn himself in later. And I saw someone show video. They sent like a whole SWAT team to get him when he turned himself in. Like, he arranged to turn himself in. He called up. He said, look, it was me. I threw the sandwich. I'm turning myself in. Here's my address. Come get me. And they sent a whole fucking SWAT team after him, pick him up.
Hey, but SWAT team, look, we're going and taking old ladies for immigration issues and like arresting them like we're arresting, serial killers.
Yes. And of course, like I said, he got in front of a judge, and the judge is like, you got to be fucking kidding me. You get out of here. Send him home.
Yeah.
Yes, he still lost his job at DOJ, but
I think he could probably sue and
I'm sure he'll sue. I mean, he's a freaking lawyer. He's gonna sue.
I mean, he should, he should sue, and he'll probably get a decent judgment, for that, because I don't even think that's a good reason to fire him anyway.
Okay. Well, I mean, he was charged with a felony, even though it was dismissed.
But he wasn't convicted.
Yes. Okay. I found what I was looking for. I saw George Conway repost this on Blue Sky, but it's apparently from Heath Mayo. And I thought this was a good summary, so I'll read the whole thing. And this is probably screenshots from X. I don't know. Anyway, he says, this DC stunt by the Trump administration is the only way they know how to do politics. They've done it for a decade now, and the Democrats continue to play right into their hands. Step 1, find a tangible, observable, universally recognized problem that can be photographed or recorded and played in news clips. Graffiti, theft, broken windows, open-air loitering, etc. In fact, better if the underlying data paints a different picture, like we were talking about. So academic types inevitably make nuanced arguments in opposition that the pictures and video aren't indicative of the full picture, etc. Step 2, array an exaggerated, unprecedented, and probably illegal state response against the problem that inevitably makes headline news around the country and triggers legal challenges. You now own the issue and are perceived as the actor. At least he's finally doing something, many might say.
Right.
Step 3, frame all the forces challenging the state response on constitutional grounds or otherwise as weak on crime and the ones who made the mess in the first place. Never credit the legal arguments or care about the Constitution. This is all about the observable problem on people's screens. Step 4, pounce when the opposition says this is overreach or fascism, or that the problem isn't as bad as we're making it seem. Continue to paint them as being asleep at the wheel while our cities crumble. Punt legality to the courts, and if pressed, just say this is what Trump promised to do. Step 5, ignore the actual results of the state response and whether it was successful at stopping the problem. Because, by the way, completely ineffective. This stuff does nothing. It does not help, and arguably in some cases it can make it worse. The result doesn't matter. If we have to demilitarize or never levy a tariff, who cares? The whole point was only to win the PR game. And we came away looking like the tough ones, with the institutional swamp arrayed against us. The viral videos were endless. Did you see what Trump said to that one lefty reporter? Hilarious. Step 6, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. And then finally, Democrats keep playing right into this stupid playbook and never make their own plays. As a result, Trump is never on the hook for the success or failure of his nonsense schemes, and he usually ends up getting credit with voters for at least appearing to attack these observable problems. Meanwhile, the problems get worse, while America's governing leaders engage in nothing but kabuki theater. There you go. That's the whole.
Yep. I mean, here's the one thing. But here's the one thing, and which is why talking about the response, which is why my whole thing about how Newsom has changed the game in terms of what an appropriate response to all of this shit is. What Newsom is employing right now as the tactics to respond to this is a significant change from what the Democrat playbook has been up to now. You had sent me one that was like comedic. That was comedic, talking about Hakeem Jeffries and his response to, I think it was the DC takeover, I think it was, where he said something about how a strongly worded letter was sent, and he was like, yeah, that's appropriate. What the fuck, people? No, this could not be. Look, you got on one hand, basically, you got to stop showing up to a gunfight with just your bare hands, like right now,
right?
Which is what the Democrats are doing.
Yeah.
Not even with a knife. You're just showing up with your fucking bare hands, okay, and getting shot in the face. So you got to stop doing that.
Please don't do this. This is wrong. You should not be doing this.
Exactly. You got to stop doing that shit, and you've got to ridicule them. This week, Fox was forced to repeatedly read the statements that Gavin Newsom made ridiculing Trump on TV. And I'm going to tell you that probably backfired in terms of the effect on people, in terms of the effect on the audience. It's one of those things where you're forcing them to have to react to you.
I know I'm repetitive on this, and I'm going to go back, and then we can get back to Newsom. But the whole, why can't we just mock them thing? I mean,
yes,
we've talked about this on the show for years, but I remember being so happy when Walls was doing the goddamn they're weird thing.
Yes.
We were finally mocking them and going after this in that way, because we have seen on a number of occasions that actually works.
Yes.
Painting them as dangerous makes them look strong. Just like what I was talking about, in the thing I just read. It looks like they're doing something. They're taking action. They're strong. Look, even their enemies are talking about how dangerous they are.
Listen, but Newsom is painting them as dangerous and mocking them at the same time.
At the same time. Yeah,
yes.
There are ways to balance it. But, and I will go to the end of my days ruining the fact that the consultants who came in on the Harris campaign ended up reeling Walz in and telling him you can't do that shit anymore, which I think has been reported that that's essentially what happened. And they pivoted and instead did this other stuff.
That playbook needs to be thrown in a fire. Okay?
Yes. Mocking, there are two things that I think Newsom has been doing very well. And by the way, I have not been a Newsom fan. I did not like Newsom. I've been unhappy with him as an option whenever he's been talked about. And look, even now, I would rather have someone else, but he's the one who right now is doing things right.
Exactly, but no, Sam. Yeah, but this goes back to the whole thing of like, well, I want the better candidate. I want the ideal candidate. But listen,
you want
so let's let the fascists win again. No. Let me tell you something. Nobody else is stepping up to the game. What Hakeem Jeffries did this week was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. Between not endorsing Mamdani, okay, not endorsing him, being like sounding like an idiot, okay, while doing it, and that shit on like, oh yeah, we sent a strongly worded letter about what's happening in D.C. I'm like, I wanted to punch him dead in the face.
Look, here's the thing. I wish more Democrats were doing this, but as long as Newsom is the one doing it, then whatever reservations I have about Newsom, look, we talked about a few others. We've talked about AOC a number of times, although she's still a little young, and she's got there are questions about her general appeal. Newsom also has, let's be completely honest, he's a white male as well.
Yes,
and there's probably 5% of the goddamn country who will vote against anybody who's not a white male.
Yeah,
before they even think of anything else. And I remember back in 2016 and again in 2020 talking about anything but an old white male. Anything but an old white male, please. But look, I was saying there are two things. One is the mocking, and I think the mocking is really important. Two is even if there's a chance it won't succeed, you have to be pushing hard and trying to do something. So his whole thing about we're gonna redistrict to combat Texas, and pushing that hard. There are legal constraints. Like one of the things that's pissed me off about this, they've tried to tout as a benefit that, we're going to put this to the people in a referendum, not like Texas where the legislature is going to put it through. They have to.
But so what? So you oversell it a little bit. Give me a fucking break, okay? All right, that's fine.
I know. I'm just saying, like, believe me, if they could just push it through the legislature, they would. The thing is, in in California, there was a constitutional amendment to do the nonpartisan redistricting commissions, and so they basically need a constitutional amendment to undo that first. Right. And the process for that is these referendum votes on the constitutional amendment. But the point is, he's like, what can we do? Let's find something we can do and push it hard. Maybe it fails in the end, but they're going to try and they're going to push it hard, which is the other thing that, even the Texas Democrats that we're talking about, they decide, okay, we'll deny them a quorum.
Oh my God. Yeah. But
they denied a quorum for a few weeks. And now they're like, oh, well, we can't do this forever.
Well, they haven't caved yet, but the plan that they came up with to we'll come back was Trump look strong against Putin. Oh my God. Oh yeah, we're gonna go back if they promise that they're gonna let us vote on something that won't pass.
I was actually wrong about this. Like, what they were waiting for was they actually are waiting for California.
Well, that was the other. No, but I heard it was both conditions.
I Yeah,
what I read was that what I read, it was both conditions. A, that California got, was going to do their thing, and
Yeah.
B, that that they in Texas, that they would vote on their plan that would fail. But here's my problem with that, Sam. It's once again, this is showing up, to a gunfight with squirt guns. Okay, look,
Yeah, it's like
I'm sorry. Even if California does their thing, they still shouldn't cave anyway.
Right.
That's the reality.
And by the way, that's the one thing that, like, I understand why, because, like, look, the Democratic Party has for a long time, like, look, there are a lot of Democratic gerrymandered states too. Although I saw a map that showed, the most gerrymandered on the Democratic side and the most gerrymandered on the Republican side. Republicans have been better at this lately.
Yes.
But having said that, the Democratic tendency over the last decade, maybe 15 years, has been really pushing hard for these nonpartisan commissions. Like, that's been the Democratic position. And even the states where Democrats have gerrymandered in their advantage are kind of ashamed of that. And there's movements to try to get them to go nonpartisan as well. The counter argument to that is, we can't just do this in Democratic states or they're going to walk all over us, which is exactly what's been happening. And so, and by the way, the Democrats...
Listen, it's this thing about going, let's go and let's do this fair again, when you're fighting somebody who doesn't care about the rules.
Right.
They don't care about the rules on anything. You can't keep trying to battle these people by following a rule book that the other guys are not even looking at or care about.
Well, and the thing is, hold on, wait for the dog. Well, look, the thing is, look, Democrats have been pushing these nonpartisan commissions at the state level. They pushed it hard on the national level. If you remember last time the Democrats were in charge, one of the big headline bills they tried to get passed, but was killed by Manchin and Sinema, was a national voting rights bill that included nonpartisan redistricting across the country. It failed. But I think Democrats have come around now that said, okay, if we're good, it has to be national. You can't do this state by state, because hold on. You can't do this national, because that puts any states that are doing it fair at a disadvantage. And so, and if they're doing maximal redistricting, we have to too. Now, one of the problems with this combat is the Democrats have put nonpartisan redistricting in so many states that it's actually really hard to do this.
Right.
The number of places they can do this is limited, and most of the places where they can do this, with the exception of California, have already gerrymandered in the Democrats' favor. Right. So, for instance, people bring up Illinois. Illinois is already almost maximally gerrymandered in the Democrats' favor. They can't squeeze much more out of that. New York could squeeze a few more seats out of New York, but New York has the nonpartisan redistricting in place, and they have procedures in place for, if they want to get rid of that, they have to follow a long procedure that means they can't do it till 2028. They can't do it in time for 2026. California happens to have a way where they could change that in time for 2026, barely. But a lot of other states just couldn't, even if they wanted to, because of the way it's set up. It just would take too long. I mean, frankly, they should probably start anyway.
Right. They should start anyway. But that's my point, Sam. You got to go, and you can't, you have to right now you have to go all in, even on those states where you can't do it like right away, because this fight with them is not going to be over like in 2 years or 3 years. This isn't over anytime soon. This isn't,
Right.
You have to plan for the fact that you're going to have to keep fighting this for years afterwards. And if you have to go back to those states where we did this, and we have to undo that, okay, like right now, we have to start that process, because this is the thing. Forget about fairness, okay? It's not what I'm talking about right now. Forget about trying to create fair rules when you're battling with an opponent that doesn't give a shit about the rules. What you have to focus on are the tactics that are going to defend your principles, even though they may not be entirely fair, okay? In the way that, a fair fight, but even though they aren't fair, because your opponent isn't fighting fair. They aren't fighting fair. You can't play that way until the landscape changes. If they want to come back later, we want to agree on a fair set of rules, fine. But until they don't agree to them, you have to go and say, fuck this. We are going to go maximum battle front right now, across the board. And that's what the Democratic leadership and these fucking guys don't get. It has nothing to do with age, has nothing to do with that. It has to do with people. Either you're in a war footing right now, or you can't be there. That's what we need. Period.
Right. There is still so much attitude of, we have to get back to normal. We want to work with our Republican colleagues and work on bipartisan stuff and blah, blah. No. Normal is not good enough. We learned this from Biden. Like, the Biden administration, Biden's whole
he tried. It failed already.
Yes, exactly. Like, look, and I remember saying this the moment the Biden administration started, and they had the trifecta. As weak as it was with Manchin and Sinema, they had a trifecta for a while. I'm like, you should be cranking out new states. You should be reforming the Supreme Court.
Yep.
You should be doing this. You should be doing that. And
pack the court, whatever the fuck, anything.
And they didn't have the support in the Senate to get that done. But importantly, also, they didn't have the support of Joe Biden to go nuclear like that.
Listen, if Biden had decided it, we had to go over to those two, to Manchin or whatever, and basically offer him, let me make you a fucking deal you can't refuse. Whatever the fuck that deal was. I don't care if we're buying Sinema handbags at this fucking point. More for her collection. I don't give a fuck.
So, yeah. We should have been doing that now. If we get power again, we have to do it then. We need people who are willing to fight. And by the way, acknowledging there are long-term problems with this approach. If you have every state gerrymandered to the limit for whatever, we are essentially solidifying the regional divisions of the country. You really are making red states and blue states.
Okay, you're going back to the same fucking Democratic argument why we're not doing it. Here's a fucking problem. The problem is that,
this is what I was going to say. This is
true, but at the same time,
long-term.
Exactly. Long term, but
right
long term, we're not going to have a long term. Exactly. We don't have what long term. We don't have a long term to talk about right now. Right now, the long term based on this shit, and we're fucked.
You can fix those issues later. Like, let's say, you get the Democrats back in power. Okay, now you can do national redistricting reform.
Exactly.
And make it fair again or whatever. But even then, I think you should add more states. You should do all, because fundamentally, this country has a lot of problems based on the basic structure of, like, the Senate exists.
The Senate.
We've got the Electoral College exists. We fundamentally distort things based on that. Even the way we do single member districts itself maybe should be reviewed. But whatever. Like, you can deal with the long-term stuff long-term. Right now, I 100% agree with you. It's a war. It's a battle. This should not be about... It really has to be about winners and losers. I'm sorry. It is not about coming to a nice new national consensus again.
Yeah, and you know who the fucking losers need to be? People like Charlie Kirk, people like Sean Hannity, people like Donald Trump, and all his fucking kids. Those need to be losers. The fucking Nazis need to be losers. They need to lose.
Yes. And by the way, like I still believe like the core group that's problematic, even though Donald Trump won with just barely, you know, he didn't even get 50%. Even though Donald Trump won, he got more votes. The group that's the core problem, let's go back to Hillary Clinton's deplorables, right? It's like a third of the Republicans.
Exactly.
You know, those are the ones that, you know, yes, they have to lose and they have to be crushed utterly. So the rest of the Republicans can rejoin the fold of like reasonable people, you know?
Yeah.
And not, but
not vote. We know that in the cloakrooms and the back rooms, a lot of those motherfucking Republicans in the House and Senate are voting because they're basically scared of their constituents right now.
Yes.
Like that guy that went to the CDC and fired 150 shots at the fucking windows at the goddamn CDC. Those are the people these people are scared of. They're literally afraid. And voting as such.
A significant fraction. There are true believers there too. But
no, they're true believers. So there's a huge contingent of them that are just like that right now.
And look, we're in a dangerous place. And back to Newsom, the thing is, he's acting like he recognizes the gravity of this. And a lot of these other folks are not. Like, okay, AOC is, you can argue about Pritzker, you can argue about, you know, a few others have been communicating effectively. But over the last month, Newsom has been the one who's been being effective. He's gotten in the news. He's getting his message across. He's getting attention because of the way he's doing it. I mean, he's imitating goddamn Trump's tweet style.
He's mocking it, basically.
He's mocking it. But, and people asked him, do you think this is appropriate, what you're doing? And he's like, have you asked him?
Exactly. It's the shit. This is the shit where we don't play the game the same for either. You know, we get that question. Why the fuck aren't you saying that to Trump every fucking day? Every time he writes something, says something, and goes online. I mean, isn't he the one to reshare the picture of a fucking throwing a fucking dildo into a fucking into a WNBA court? I mean, I'm sorry. You want to talk about inappropriate? What the fuck are we doing?
People like, oh, that's just Trump. That's how he is. That's not news anymore. You know? And that's fundamentally like one of the great weaknesses of the way media works and frankly, the way human attention works is how quickly we no longer pay attention to the thing as long as it's the same. You know, yeah, Donald Trump does this crazy stuff, but he's done this crazy stuff for forever. So,
right.
You know, yeah, he does illegal stuff even. Oh well, doesn't matter. Nothing ever happened.
Well.
You know, it is whatever.
You know,
people
he
keep
does that illegal thing. It's all, you know, it's just Donald being Donald. Like he's building this fucking ballroom, by the way, which is illegal.
Yes, and we also have the split media ecosystem as well. Like, you know, as we hear more and more of these, like, you know, on the Curmudgeon's Corner Slack, we keep joking about giving these people, what is it, a bag of dicks or whatever, out of bags of dicks to give them.
Pete is the original bag of dicks distributor.
But you know, for people regretting their Trump vote because now there are negative consequences to them. Okay, and one of the themes I've seen from these are people saying, you know, they had no idea, or well, they had heard that, but they didn't believe it. Right. And part of that is like, if CNN said it, or
they
Harris
don't believe it.
said it. They don't believe it. It doesn't
Right.
matter what it is. Like, they're not going to believe that thing is true. Like, even on the Epstein stuff, some of these people are like, well, we had no idea Donald Trump was involved in Epstein. And we've talked before, some of them have the excuse that they were really young in 2015, 2016 when it was discussed before, or in the years since. But many of them are old enough to have been there and may have heard it, but dismissed it immediately as liberal propaganda. You know, of course that's false. They didn't believe it until like Laura Loomer and people like that were asking questions about it.
Right.
You know, or I don't know if Laura Loomer's one of them, but, you know, a variety
Laura
of
Loomer was
people.
one of them, yes.
Yeah. So, yeah. And so as long as we have that thing where there's an insulation against facts simply because if they say it, it must be false. And look, I admit, if Donald Trump says something, my default going in position is, of course he's lying.
Yeah, but you know what? You and me will go and like try to figure out, is that true?
Right.
I mean, that's the reality. I mean, I'm like, you know, I get something from some source that I don't understand. I don't go by just, it's fake news. I'm like, is that true? I'm like, let me double check. Is that true? No, these people know. They just hear it from somebody. It's fake news. That's it.
Well, and in many cases, this also gets into the simple truth, the simple statement versus the subtle truth as well, right? Like, maybe that statement is true, but it has to be understood in a larger context for you to really understand what's going on or whatever. And, oh, it's complicated. It's not like this or that. It's like some in between, like, oh, well, sometimes yes, sometimes no. It's complicated. Because in almost all situations, the real answer is it's complicated. And to really understand what's going on, you have to dive in and you have to think about it and you have to understand. And there are all kinds of subtleties and there are all kinds of trade-offs. And it's not just clearly one thing's right, one thing's wrong. And, you know, and that makes it tough. And like, you know, and some people don't want to do that. Some people are incapable of that. Some people just don't have time for that. They've got lives. We don't have lives. We just spend all day digging into this crap, but like that's unusual.
Look, listen, my wife the other day were discussing this, and I know we've touched this on before, but I was just counting the other day just the sheer volume of shit that I read every day. Because look, one thing, I read very fast. I read extremely fast. Okay, look, I mean, I read at a pace that I know is faster than most. And what that means is on an ordinary day, I will for sure go over and read over 100 news articles. And I don't, and when I'm saying reading, I mean reading, not
just the headline,
not just the headline, literally reading the whole fucking thing. Okay, but that's not normal.
You're ahead of me. Like I keep track of lots of things, but I mostly skim the surface. I will fully read a handful of articles every day, but not like 100. You know.
Yeah. No, but it's crazy. I mean, you know, but yeah. So we keep up to date on what the fuck is going on, you know, on a regular basis. But most people cannot deal with that information overload. Fuck, I mean, they can't deal with the information overload from work. The hell are they gonna read that much when that much shit is being distributed out there? It's crazy. So anyway,
I have been. We need to close up, but
yes.
I just going to say there's one other thing. I've talked to people occasionally at work, you know, and I mentioned, you know, I do, you know, election graphs, I do the podcast, I do stuff like that. And it comes up and it's like, oh, like I never pay attention to politics. I have no idea what's going on. How does that stuff work again? I don't know. Like, you know,
right.
I mentioned that my wife's a state rep and they're like, what's a state rep? You know, what do they do? You know, this kind of stuff. And these are from people who are educated, working at a high paying tech job. You're clearly an intelligent person, but this just is not something that they focus on or spend time on. And so they don't know.
They don't know. They have no idea.
So anyway, let's close it up. You know the deal, curmudgeons-corner.com. Go there and find all our stuff. You got our archives, you got transcripts, you got all the ways to contact us. And importantly, you've got a link to our Patreon. Patreon is how you can give us money. Lots of money. Eventually, months later, you'll get a postcard or whatever if you earn a postcard. At other levels, we'll mention you on the show. We'll ring a bell. We'll send you a mug, all this kind of stuff. It's lots of fun. Importantly, at $2 a month or more, or if you just ask us, we will invite you to the Curmudgeon's Corner Slack, where Yvonne and I and a bunch of listeners are chatting throughout the entire week, sharing interesting news articles, both about politics and all kinds of other topics, and just chatting about like stuff. So you'll know what's happening with our cars, what's happening with trips, what's happening with this, what's coming. Which, by the way, I have now booked for early October. I have booked my trip to go to Toronto and finally meet my nephew, who was born this year. So
Excellent.
We'll be doing that in early October. But anyway, yeah. So Yvonne, what's a highlight from the Slack this week that will make people want to give us money?
Sam shared the story, which is just, I mean, it's such a interesting offer. I can't believe that more people are not going to sign up for this service. It says that a startup is pitching a mind uploading service that is 100% fatal. Netcom will preserve your brain, but you have to be euthanized first. I didn't even go and read the article, okay, after, in this case, after just reading the headline, because it seems quite preposterous that, oh, yes, well, you can upload your brain, but you know, we have to kill you.
Well, presumably this would be marketed to people who were in the last stages of life anyway.
Maybe, I guess. Or maybe not, because, I mean, I don't know. Maybe we can can we offer this to Donald?
Well, because also, by the way, just to be clear, people have offered various, like, you go freeze yourself, go freeze your head.
Right.
You know, all kinds of things with the idea that they will at some point bring you back to life in one way or another. I guess this one is a digital upload where maybe you can come back as an AI or something. I don't know. None of these work.
Right. As far as we know.
Just to be clear,
none of them have worked.
I mean, maybe at some point the technology will be better, but right now none of these work.
Listen, we are getting better at reading information. Listen, we are getting better at reading information for the brain. On a separate article that we did share, which is real, is that there is this system that has been developed that you could connect to a person's brain, and it could decode what words people try to say, but the words they merely imagine saying as well.
Right.
Which that's a breakthrough of that's an incredible breakthrough.
Yeah, and
in terms of understanding what happens in the mind.
Yeah, and they're talking about using this for people who have various diseases that keep them from talking, diseases or injuries.
Yes.
That prevent them from talking, but their brain still works.
Right.
Where basically they can translate their thoughts into a voice.
Yes.
And this has been improved.
Hell, and they actually talked about if people that they have recordings of their voice that they could actually make it sound like their voice.
Yes, and there have been other things like that. There have been prototypes of things that can like identify what you are dreaming about if you're dreaming. Things like that. Pull some, very rude, very crude kind of stuff. It's not very sophisticated yet, but I mean, hell, they're making progress along these lines. I joked on the Curmudgeon's Corner Slack that this, just imagine once this becomes mandatory when you're like on a Zoom call for work, where in addition to anything you say out loud, it reads out loud anything you're thinking.
Right.
That'll make the negotiations go well.
Yeah, I don't want all my out loud thoughts to be, to go said. Like I suppress a lot of things that I want to say on many occasions.
There are many things that happen in my head that absolutely should not be said out loud.
Correct.
In all kinds of different directions.
In all kinds of situations. Yeah.
Yes. There's all kinds of things. Like, there is a reason that you don't just say everything that comes into your head.
Yes.
And look, there are things that come into my head that I realize are wrong and I should not say, and I don't say. And the fact that it came into my head should not be held against me.
Correct. All right, let's wrap it up.
Okay, that's it. We'll get your brain chopped up for that thing later.
Thank you. So nice of you to offer.
We'll improve the Yvonne GPT with the results, and we'll continue the podcast.
Okay, great.
Okay. Hey, everybody, have a great week. Stay safe. Blah 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 blah.
Blah blah blah.
We're getting close to the end of the summer. School's already restarted where you are, hasn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
yes,
it hasn't where I am, and we've got weird things going on with school anyway. But anyway, summer's almost over. Enjoy whatever's left of it, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
You know how I mentioned I hate driving my wife's car?
Yeah.
Well, while we were recording, she and my son took off in my car to go eat somewhere. She was like, I have to leave now. Can I take your car? I'm like, sure. So now I am probably going to go take her car and try to chase her down to join them for lunch.
Or you have to drive her car.
But I have to drive her car because she took my car because I blocked her in. Because we got something going on in the driveway again.
You blocked her in, so therefore, what are you gonna do? You're not gonna make her like,
No, and then I figure like I join them, then she has to leave to whatever she's going. I will stay. I will eat my food with the boy, and
you can leave her car.
Yeah, I'll leave her car. We can swap again. So,
right.
But I have to drive her car, which I hate. But it's only a couple miles away, so I'll live. Okay, I'm hitting stop. Goodbye.
Bye.